Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We are live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. New time for this show, which means a new time for Adam Chernoff every Friday. That's going to be at 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 Pacific time for 2 full segments. We will go, he wants to go in-depth on what happened last night, looking ahead to week 2, and also just rapid fire with the other games on the Sunday schedule. This game has now turned into a fascinating matchup, Pauly. Mm-hmm. It's a lightning rod for Survivor.
Tell me about it.
Right?
Yeah.
So, Patriots at the Bengals. This number is now down to Cincy, 7.5 everywhere, with a total of 40.5. Couple things regarding Joe Burrow's favorite targets. 1, tweet from Kelsey Conway, covers the team, from today. All of the Bengals wide receivers are on a separate field catching passes from the quarterbacks, and T. Higgins is not out there with them. Higgins popped up on the injury report yesterday as a limited participant with a hamstring injury. There is that, coupled with people in Cincinnati basically panicking and thinking that Jamar Chase is not going to play. Number down to 7.5.
One guy doubtful, one guy questionable. This is ridiculous, right? My God. Heavy dose of Zach Moss. Let's start there. And also, I got a couple things here, too. You're right. What would this do to Survivor if the Bengals lose? But, I mean, again, what are the Patriots going to... Well, I'm confident you'll get a defensive touchdown out of the Bengals. But, going back here. Last 25 years, favorites of 7.5 or more in week 1 are 20 and 36 ATS. And... the Minnesota Vikings and the Cincinnati Bengals are a combined 1-7 straight up in the first 2 weeks going back the last couple of years.
Yep.
It's been ugly. So Cincinnati always slow starters, and that's a problem too here.
I'll expand on that in a second.
Yeah, right. So it's 2020 with the issues the Vikings and the Bengals have had. But you're right. It's a tough handicap now. Again, you got to continue when you look at the under that open at 42.5, but it's... Is it still no problem for Burrow? I'm going to mix it up. We'll take the ball away. The Patriots won't score. It's a mess now.
Yep. So to break it down even a little bit deeper here with those numbers that you have on the Bengals early on in the season, this is Joe Burrow. In his career, 36-22-1 ATS. However, he is 2-6 in the first 2 games of the year, 34-16-1 ATS in game 3 or later.
Yeah.
For Joe Burrow and the Bengals. I got this message from our buddy Donnie, who lives in Cincinnati, and he is not a Bengals fan, but he said this fan base is turning on Chase quicker than Skyline chili running through you.
Oh, no. No. Oh, come on.
That's a great line.
Why? Who sides with ownership?
Yeah, that's exactly
Who
right.
Who sides with billionaires?
Why
I
would
don't
you do
understand
that?
this about fans.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the player. It's the agent. Who takes the side of the billionaire?
Thank you for bringing that up.
Come on.
It happens with every team in sports.
Yes, it does.
It never makes any sense.
It's always, you look at all the money there. But the guy's got $1 billion.
Yep.
Usually not, I know what this difference with the Bengals, but this is, with the organization and the evaluation of the team. I don't get it.
Well, let's hear from him. This is Jamar Chase talking about the game on Sunday.
What can you do on Sunday?
Whatever I need to do. You know what I'm saying? I'll probably be limited if I do play, but we'll see what happens.
When you play the play?
Game time decision.
Golly. So he's going to be, he thinks limited who he plays anyway?
It's also on Zach Taylor. He's like, cat out of the bag. He'll be on practice. He'll be there. Everybody. No, he wasn't. It's like Glenn Ross. Keep your mouth shut unless you know the score.
So there's, for 1 second here, indulge me. There's no Chase. There's no Higgins. We hear all the time that non-quarterbacks, the best non-quarterbacks in football are maybe worth a point. Well, what happens if you take away his best 2 wide receivers? Then what are they worth?
Yeah.
Are they worth? Is that 3 points? Are people? My phone has been blowing up. I have all 10 survivors, pending yet. My phone's been blowing up all day with various people saying, "I don't know if we can take the Bengals anymore." Is that fair?
I just think this could be all-time bad, though, from New England. Guys banged up on the offensive line. The offensive line's atrocious. The journeyman got outplayed by the rookie. The only reason May isn't starting is because he's a rookie, and they're concerns about the offensive line. They have no playmakers. They're going on the road.
I know.
It is Burrow. It shouldn't matter.
Okay.
I mean, it's just still, in terms of, they should still just come, instead of maybe 34-6, maybe it's 23-6 or something like that. They're going to force turnovers. It's all, come on, it's also Mayo. What's the downgrade from the greatest coach ever to this guy?
Trey Hendrickson should be living in the backfield, by the way, with that offensive line.
Yeah.
So the board behind us right now says more than 13,000 people in Survivor. And we have approximately 24 hours for more signups. We're going to get to more than 14,000 people probably by tonight. So let's say it's an even 14,000 people in Survivor. The number before today, you've been saying, what, about 42, 44%?
Yeah, Survivor Atlas, and they break it down. They're thinking in that range. Yeah, I've seen as high as 48, 41. Survivor Atlas said 41 before this news.
So what do we think now?
That
Again, to remind people,
I think Seattle's going to be very popular.
I think so too.
That's up to 6 now, right? Rookie quarterback on the road makes sense.
Last year, everybody thought like the number one seed with a bullet was going to be number one team with a bullet was going to be Washington against Arizona.
Yeah,
they were popular. People projected like 50%. It was like 38%. So maybe this game comes in below 40%, and it's not as many people as we originally thought. Still, if that big chunk is taken out by a Patriots upset, that's because that's not going to be the only team to lose. So you figure if they happen to go down and it's an upset and the Patriots walk out of there with a victory, you're probably 50% of the field's going to be gone going into week 2.
Yeah.
Great numbers here on the Texans and the Colts. Oh, hold on 1 second. Sorry. Having said all that, you also, and I was too, I'll raise my hand. I was talking about Bengals teasers yesterday.
Why they're going to win the game.
Okay, you're not afraid?
The Patriots are going to win 2 games. 1 maybe. This is a horrible team. Horrible. And what they lost on the defense. And the concerns about Mayo and what they have, and it's a total rebuild, and they didn't spend any money.
Okay, the numbers that you have here on the Colts. Explain how bad it's been.
Yeah.
And then do you think it has anything to do with the game on Sunday?
Since 2008, the Colts are 1-14-1 ATS week 1. They're winless in their last 10. Second longest in NFL history. It goes back to, we're talking about teams that made the playoffs. We're talking about teams that lost to Jacksonville when they were awful and won 1 game that year. And it took me out of Survivor that year. It's doesn't make any sense, but they are not ready to go. And they always get off to a slow start, and that is hard to do. And unfathomable that you're 1-14-1 ATS in openers going back. The line up to 3, it was 1.5.
Yep.
It was a great game how they closed the year. Stroud went off against the Colts. Taylor went off. Taylor had 188 against Houston in that close loss that came down to the 4th down play. And now it's Stroud with what he did and accomplished with these new weapons as well. Remember what he did last year, and guys were in and out of the lineup. And now you bring in Diggs and what they add to it, and what you have in Mixon now as well. I can't get there with Richardson. I think he's too much of an unknown.
224.5 passing yards. Big number for him.
Right. And I like Steichen, but I just think Houston's going to win. And even it was a good and bad last year in the same situation when they opened up at home against Jacksonville. There were some turnovers. They got some luck, but Jacksonville took care of them, and they didn't play a good game, but got out of there with the win as well. I think Houston will get the win and cover. And I got to see. I got to see Richardson. I mean, it was alarming to me that the Bengals players are calling him out in practice and lighting him up with all those quotes and what they were saying.
Sure.
So
to add on that, by the way, with the Colts, it's 0-6 ATS against teams in their own division. So not only is it 1-14-1 ATS in week 1 going back, it's 0-6. CJ Stroud, his passing prop number is 277.5 yards. I've heard people make the case on this network that he's going to throw for 300 plus, take the plus money.
He is the favorite to lead in passing yards.
What's the number on that?
6-1. 7-1. Depends where you.
I don't like looking at the favorites, but that's
right?
I mean, Colts are going to have a better pass rush. They address that, so they will be good up front. But the secondary is not good at all. And the Texans are absolutely loaded at wide receiver.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to be super heavy. They weren't last year, but I think that's going to change a little bit this year because it was so good. They did a lot of stupid stuff on early downs last year.
Yeah.
Like let Stroud cook the entire time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's up to 3. You're right. You pointed that out. Up to 3 now.
Yep.
And divisional, here's the thing.
That's your comeback.
Here's the comeback, right? Divisional home dogs in week 1 have been phenomenal for years. And they are throughout the season anyway. Forget week 1. It's like weeks 1 through 18. Well, by the way, let's do the weekly leaders coming up at some point as well. We'll run some of those numbers down. Stroud 6-1, even though he's the favorite, kind of juicy.
Not bad.
Yeah.
I think there'd be fireworks in that Miami game too. But
yeah, that's the next game here. What do you think of this? Dolphins 29-17 straight up since 2016 when the temperature is 80 degrees or higher.
Well, Ramsey got paid, but is he going to play?
Good question.
Ramsey's questionable. That's big. So I got the new DC in Miami, and Miami last year. Miami going back 9-2 ATS as favorites. The problem has been what's happened when they're underdogs, and they usually lose. But I don't know. I expect a high-scoring game here, and I want to see this offense explode from the get-go. And it's hard to what are you going to get from Jacksonville with their new pieces and what they added. But first things first, I got to see what happens with Ramsey because that's a big deal if he can't play.
Sure. Tua, by the way, I mentioned that when it's 80 degrees or higher.
Yeah.
Tua is 15-3. His passing yards prop is 268.5. I think it's going to be difficult for this Jacksonville defense to slow down Miami.
Right.
And you're right. If Ramsey's not in there, I have questions about the defense anyway with Miami. I think Jacksonville can maybe keep up with them. And 49, that number that you're looking at right now, this game, are you going to be stunned if this game is 31-28? I won't be for 1 second. Tyreek Hill's prop in week 1 is 96.5 yards. Remember, last couple of years out of the gates, he was blown by that, no problem. To the point of where books were adjusting and making it north of 100, like in all those games after that. Up next, the head coach is the worst among all active coaches ATS, and only one quarterback has been worse than his starter. Whew. We'll give you both names coming up next on VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Here is the atrocious combo of head coach and quarterback I was talking about before the break. It's Dennis Allen and Derek Carr. Numbers on both these characters. Dennis Allen, 24-46 straight up in his career. I lived in the Bay Area when he was the coach of the Oakland Raiders. I cannot explain to you how awful it was. It was so bad. Derek Carr, 500 ATS or worse as a favorite in 7 straight seasons. He is 48, 62, and 3 ATS in that spot. Since 2014, only Matt Ryan is worse as a favorite out of 166 quarterbacks who qualify. That's what you're talking about here. I liked Derek Carr in 2016 when he was a true MVP candidate, got hurt. I have not liked him since. I don't know how did he get paid a second time around here by this team? And how is he a starting quarterback in the NFL? And on the flip side, with Bryce Young, only 3 quarterbacks in history have had 11 passing touchdowns or less, 10 INTs or more, less than 60% completion percentage, and 50-plus sacks. Bryce Young, 2014 Blake Bortles, they were 5-11 the next year, and 2002 Derek Carr, 3-8 straight up the next year until he got hurt.
Start the handicap to this game and the season starts with that. Can Canales fix him? And does he at any point look like an NFL quarterback?
I will hold out hope.
Okay, but he doesn't look like an NFL quarterback when you see him, if you're standing next to him.
I know.
So that's number one. Number two was it was historic what happened last year. They never led in the fourth quarter at any point. Both wins were at the gun, walk-off game-winning field goals.
That's like White Sox bad.
Yes, 0-9 on the road. So can they protect him? They threw $100 million at the offensive line. They were 12-5 to the under last year, too. See, they're playing games with that total. Came back down today. But I don't know what I'm going to get out of both offensive lines here. Can they protect Carr? What can New Orleans get going on the ground? And I don't know why Canales would want this job. That's the other thing. Working for that lunatic owner. But Kubiak's a new OC with the Saints. And it was a disappointing year. What they expected to go to the playoffs, and they blew some games down the stretch as well. He does get a new toy, Young, with Johnson coming in as wide receiver. I still like Adam Thielen over 40 yards in his prop. Can he get 40, 50 yards? They had a good rapport last year, and he went over in almost every game. He had a couple 100-yard games, too.
Right.
So I still like Thielen over here in this game. But he has to prove it to me. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints lose, but I have to see if this kid can develop and actually look like a average quarterback, because it was a unmitigated disaster for the Panthers last year. So much so that they let Wright go early and whacked a lot of people.
I have Shaheed pegged as the guy who's going to have a good game if anybody does for the Saints. So not only with the total have they been playing games, but anytime it gets to 4.5, it goes back down. So what's going to happen here. Books have found that price point, right? It goes to 4.5, you're going to get instant buyback on Carolina. And when you go to 3.5 on the Saints, you're going to maybe get some New Orleans money at that point. So 4 probably is going to be the closing number in this game. I do not have this in either one of my contests out here, and I'm trying to talk people off the ledge from using the Saints in Survivor. I don't want to do it. It's one of those things that you and I have talked about all the time.
Let them take the Saints.
No. That I'm on. I'm with my entries.
Okay.
So I can't get there.
Yeah.
If you're new to this show, we were doing the morning show here on VSiN for 7 years, and we talked about this all the time, like every single football season. Are you okay going to bed at night? Can you put your head down on the pillow in a Survivor contest like the one out here at Circa? If on that ticket, if you submit, you know what? I have faith in the Saints and Dennis Allen and Derek Carr. I can't do it. I will be pissed off at myself all day on Sunday if I take them and they lose. That's all you need to know. You got to be comfortable losing, and I'm not doing that in week 1 at the Saints. If I'm on a Seattle ticket and Bo Nix and Sean Payton take me out, I'm fine with that.
Yep.
If we end up with the Bengals, if Higgins and Chase play and they lose to the Patriots, that will suck. But so be it. I'd much rather go out with one of those 2 ladder teams I just talked about than the Saints. No way, no how.
Gotcha.
Vikings, Giants.
Here we go.
Since 2020 at home, Giants 24, 8-1 to the under.
There it is, ATM machine.
It's one of your big boys, right?
I'm on the under, yep. And the Giants, 6 straight. They've covered 6 straight at home as a dog, and they've also, they've been an under machine at home for a long, long time as dogs at home as well. I know you love the defensive line and what they added. You'll get to that in a second. But here's the thing, and what are you going to get with the quarterback play on Sunday? Oh, boy. So the Giants were 29th in offense. They were 30th in scoring. They were 31st in passing. The defense was atrocious as well. They were plus 12 in the turnover battle. That was tied for best in the league. Baltimore was the 1 seed, and then the Giants were one of the worst teams in the league. Minnesota was minus 12. They couldn't win a close game. Everything went against them, and you saw what happened there. So that's how bad is this outfit? And then what happens with Danny Dimes, who has had success against this Vikings defense, but I think it's going to be an ugly game and a low-scoring game, and who knows with the turnovers, because you want to take Sam Darnold, be my guest. The other thing is what happens now with Minnesota. Jefferson still had 1,000 yards, and he missed 7 games. And he also went off in the last meeting against the Giants when he had 12 for 133. Minnesota's also trotting out a new kicker. They let Joseph walk. You have Singletary in for Barkley now, and Minnesota, rare where they're opening up on the road, only the second time in 8 years. And I mentioned earlier, Minnesota always gets off to a slow start, along with Cincinnati with that 1-7 straight up mark as well. So I'm on the under, like the under. History supports it. Good luck with these quarterbacks, and God bless you if you take the Vikings. I can't believe they're favored, and it's just Sam Darnold at no point has been good.
Never once.
Total joke his career.
Yep.
Moving around, vagabond nomad, and I can't believe the horrible luck with McCarthy here. But I know Nick Mullen came in and put up big numbers, and a lot of it was just throw to Jefferson. But this guy is going to turn the ball over Sunday. And this season, rest assured.
Yeah. Somebody please explain to me how the Vikings are favored by 2 points now. How Sam Darnold is favored by 2 points on the road. Now, you could flip it and say, well, should Danny Dimes be favored? Maybe not, but they are at home. They have a good defense. Darnold in his career, 22-33 and 1 ATS. 4th least profitable quarterback ATS since being drafted in 2018. 4th least profitable quarterback in that time. You're right, turnover machine. Here's the question I have, though. O'Connell was so damn good last year, and he's been so damn good in his career early on.
Yeah, but not at the end, though. We made some bad decisions.
But overall, I'm talking overall. Look at the names.
What happened after
look
at
the names he was working with in a pinch, and he had to make it work, and they did. I can flip it, though, and say that Darnold, again, threw that INT in practice this year, and immediately the body language went down to the knees, tucked his head down. That's seeing ghost Sam Darnold.
Seeing ghost. It worked for one game when Dobbs came in. It was a great story.
Okay.
But then it didn't. He got benched, and he was throwing interceptions left and right. And then he made that horrible decision to put Hall in there in a must-win, and he brought Mullins back in.
Yeah.
Now, that's, Mullins, at least he can sling it, but I can't believe they went in this direction as an organization.
Yeah.
So
you asked about the defensive line. Dexter Lawrence, obviously, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau. It is awesome. They are completely loaded there. One of the best in all of football. The Westgate here in Las Vegas, I will admit, it's the first time I've ever bet this market before. It's most sacks in a season. I took like 4 or 5 guys at huge numbers. They were offering Thibodeau and Brian, and these are not big bets, and Brian Burns at like 60-1. I think DraftKings at 25-1. I think there's a path where one of those guys could reach 16, 17 sacks and then be in the mix, helping each other out there, people helping people. And then the first Sunday afternoon game is the Las Vegas Raiders at the Chargers.
JT, can I jump in quick? JT the Brick. JT the Brick is a longtime national radio host, and he works for the Raiders, and he's tight with Mr. Davis. The last time the Raiders went to San Diego, he was on the sideline, and he took a video, and he just put it up on Twitter, on X again, to remind people. It was all Raider fans. This is going to be 70-30? Am I low?
Oh, you're low.
Okay.
I think you're way low.
So factor that in. It's going to be all Raider fans. And now you're coming in. Is Hermert going to be rusty? And you know that Harbaugh's going to want to run the ball. And how's that going to work and go against Crosby and Wilkins? And this is, to me, it comes down to Minshew. And this is a game that the Raiders definitely can win. And I agree with the big move on the total from 43.5 down to 39.5.
Yeah.
This should be an under.
No, I like the Raiders. They're going to be a contest play for me at +3. I think they win the game outright. Yep. For what it's worth, again, I'm not the biggest fan of Antonio Pierce. However, he closed last year when he took over for McDaniel, 7-1 and 1 ATS. Now, this is a revenge spot for the Chargers, although Jim Harbaugh was not there.
Oh, that was ugly.
Oh, it was.
It quit.
They were totally embarrassed last year.
They quit on Staley, yeah.
And that was a national TV game, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tough one. I know. It's going to be a great start, though. Hopefully the Raiders can get it. If you're the type of guy who's looking to get down $10,000 or more on an NFL game, you want the best price. Sport Trade, the app that's going to change sports betting. $4 lines instead of the typical $10. Instant in-game betting. Sport Trade, perfect for those who want a premium betting experience. Live in Jersey, Colorado, Iowa, coming to Arizona and Virginia this fall. Download Sport Trade, code VEASAN. Get 10% cash back. Terms apply. Download Sport Trade now. Got to be 21.
NFL better. Longtime friend of the show, Adam Chernoff, on the program coming up next. We'll react to what we saw last night, Thursday Night Football, and look ahead to their Week 2 matchups next on VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Get up there, bookmark it, check it out every day. You'll love it. VSiN.com. I'm up there every day. Best bets, betting splits, exclusive articles, odds by state, betting tools, betting guides. Cohen, Shoemaker, Mackinnon kills it. Week 1 NFL betting systems. Von Tobel, college football, the moves. Tim Murray as well. WNBA, soccer, Nigel. All you can eat, baby. VSiN.com.
All right. 5 years in running now with our next guest. It's officially football season. Adam Chernoff joins the program. He is on the Progressive Guest Line, Right Angle Sports. His podcast is called The Simple Handicap. And 2 full segments here, and we'll get into all these games and go rapid fire. Good afternoon, Adam. How are you?
I'm doing great. This feels like a premium playoff, big-time, primetime spot that you guys do. It's just elevated up. This is nice in the afternoon, I got to tell you.
It's really, really nice. Trust both of us on that. Okay, your biggest takeaways from last night, Chiefs hanging on by like half of an inch to beat the Ravens and improve to 1-0 on the year.
Hanging on is a good way to put it. And I think another good way to put it is that Andy Reid perhaps gets bailed out by how the Ravens handled the clock, not only at the end of the fourth quarter, but the end of the second quarter as well. And Mitch, I know you said that they handled it well in the second quarter. Yeah. A little bit that I would disagree with is they let 35 seconds run off the play clock between about 1:05 and 35 seconds.
Okay, so too much time. Okay.
Yeah, it forced them to kick on third down. So I had a bit of a gripe with that in the second quarter, but in the fourth quarter, I mean, they let 32 seconds run off the clock. They were at the line of scrimmage at the 10-yard line. The entire team was with 35 seconds to go.
Spike it.
Yes.
Spike the ball.
Exactly. And so where I criticize what they did, if you spike the football, say with 28 seconds left, you keep Lamar's legs alive for a potential scramble. Because they let it run down to snap it with 16 seconds, you take that out of the equation. I mean, he was burning them with their legs all night. You eliminate that. It just, to me, became easier to defend. So I think that how they managed it potentially let Andy Reid off the hook with that 4th and 5 punt, which was egregious. That was so bad at the end of the third quarter. So that was my big takeaway.
Okay. So then looking ahead to their week 2 matchups, right? Games are on the board. Chiefs are at home to the Bengals. They're laying 3.5. And we talked about this in the first segment, right? And you pointed this out, by the way, during the summertime. Going to probably see some issues here with the O-line by the Ravens. Well, here comes your pick for Defensive Player of the Year, Max Crosby in that Raiders front. They're laying 7.5 against Las Vegas.
The right side of the line for the Ravens is a problem. Like, they don't have a way to scheme around that. They're probably going to have to switch guys in and out. I don't know what that looks like. Now, thankfully, something else we saw last night was Skinny Lamar is back.
Yep.
Oh, we lost him.
Skinny Lamar.
Okay. We'll get him back. We'll get the connection back. Skinny Lamar's back. I thought Lamar Jackson, I know he missed some throws, but I thought just watching him play, the threat of him every time that he took off, I'm like, in my head, I kept over and over telling myself, I cannot imagine being a defender on the field trying to slow him down.
Yeah. That part I watch and think they can be dangerous with, but then you look at, and again, they protect them.
I know.
With the pass protection, because everything was 1 yard. The first 3 quarters, everything was 1 yard or behind. It's like, what are you doing?
So coupled with the second half last year, the game plan, and what took place last night early on, everything was just, it was at the line of scrimmage. Some of it was behind the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
So, Adam, you were saying before you were cut off there.
Well, I was saying it's good that the Ravens have a Skinny Lamar back that's a willing runner to negate those offensive line issues that I don't think they're going to be able to fix anytime soon. So against the Raiders, he's going to need to use that mobility again to negate those issues.
Yep. Okay, thoughts on tonight's game? Again, numbers been on the board here for several months. I text you the night of the schedule, and I got this feedback on Twitter 20 minutes ago. I know at least one person now that's holding over 46.5 and under 51.5 in this game, and they waited 5 months for the game to get here. So good job out of them. What do you make of where the numbers are at right now?
I remember that as well. There was that 5-point middle that was up, and I remember that text. You're right. I like the over in this game still at 49.5. I'm going to put you guys on the spot because I know there's talk about the field conditions in Brazil. There are 2 teams in the NFL that play on what is called Deso Grassmaster Field Turf, which is what they're going to be playing on tonight. If you guys had to guess the 2 NFL teams that play on that surface at their home stadium, who would you guess?
Well,
the teams tonight?
I'm going to go Packers-Eagles.
Exactly
Get
right.
the hell out of here.
That's exactly it. So I know there's a lot being made out of this grass surface of what it's going to be. The Eagles and Packers at their home stadiums have the exact same grass and surface that they're playing on tonight. The only 2 teams in the NFL. So I don't buy the field concern issues because these teams know exactly what they're playing on. But not only this exists and kind of negates some of that concern, I would say the big thing that I like about this game is since 2021, when the preseason rules changed and we went from 4 games to 3 games, there have been 32 new defensive coordinator hires or promotions. The average allowance in week 1, those defensive coordinator debuts just as a whole is 23.8 points. But there have only been 7 of those 32 defensive coordinators that have debuted against offenses that would finish the year top 10. So these defensive coordinators had to step up against great offenses. In those games, the average point allowance is 31.5 points. And so we don't see spots like this where we get defensive coordinators making their debut on both sides of the football against great established offenses on the other side very often. And now you're putting me in this spot where I can get 49 with 2 great offenses that I have a ton of confidence are going to finish top 10. Like I want every part of it. And so to me, at less than 51, this game isn't over.
Okay, so play it over until, do you think, by the way, is it going to close at 51? Does it get that high?
I don't think it's going to get that high. No, I think if it gets to 51, which would be a lot in the next 2.5 hours, there's going to be interest in the under at that. Just international game, the travel, the uncertainty, that's going to probably go the other way. So I think we're at 49.50 for the close. But again, we're close to kickoff Friday afternoon. Not going to see a lot of movement on a lot of these.
Take us through Jacksonville, Miami. What you think, and would your opinion change if Ramsey doesn't play?
I would change my opinion because he's going to be so vital to Anthony Weaver, a new defensive coordinator making his debut. And we have a similar scenario in this game with both teams with new defensive coordinators. I think that in general, new defensive coordinators this week are going to struggle just because there's so many matchups for them against great offenses, which is quite unique. We saw Zach Orr struggle last night. But if I have to look at both of these guys in this game, Miami-Jacksonville, I think it's Ryan Nielsen, the new defensive coordinator for the Jags, that's going to have a heck of a time trying to figure out what Mike McDaniel is going to do on offense. The Miami Dolphins, since McDaniel took over, have the highest scoring average in September games of any team in the league because he has all off season to come up with new motions, to get his guys healthy, to come up with new schemes. I mean, it's brutal to defend. You think back to the last year in some of those high scoring games that they put together, it's a nightmare to try to defend. And Nielsen is introducing a significant scheme change for the Jags. So we're going from a very soft coverage defense, lots of cover 3, to aggressive cover 1 and man coverage. And that against Miami just doesn't work. And so unless we see Nielsen in his debut do something drastically different as a curveball, which I have a hard time believing, I think there's going to be a lot of offensive success. And so I actually look at Miami as the highest scoring Sunday team at 9-1. And I think that is a bet worth making. They're the third favorite in that market, and I don't agree with that being the way it is. So I think that's a nice prop that you can find to play out of this game.
One more game in this segment. Adam Chernoff, Right Angle Sports, also the Simple Handicap podcast as well. Your thoughts on the Bengals and the Patriots? And I don't know, maybe this is a spot where the Bengals have both Higgins and Chase. Maybe they're without both guys.
It sounds like both of them are in serious jeopardy of missing. Chase said even if he plays, he's going to be limited. And so, I mean, that's a blow to Cincinnati. Something that stands out to me, I was looking through all the offseason notes, and I couldn't help but notice from coach press conferences, from player press conferences, Mike Gesicki stood out in a major way. And Joe Burrow spoke highly of him throughout training camp and throughout practices. There's talks about the chemistry that they have on field. And so the big takeaway from the Bengals offseason was the depth that they have at skill positions, and especially wide receiver and tight end, and how Gesicki is going to be moved around. So if Higgins is not on the field and you have Chase in a best case scenario, very limited, like I'm looking at Gesicki as the guy that's going to benefit the most from that, as they are able to use him at tight end. They're able to use him in the slot. And when I'm thinking about who is Cincinnati going to go to and target when they're looking to score, I think it has to be him. So his anytime touchdown price is at 3-1. There's better than 3-1 out there. I don't agree that it should be that high. I think Joe Burrow is going to look to a guy he built chemistry with in the offseason, and it's going to be a spot where the Bengals are still going to have opportunities to score because, I mean, the Pats defense missing 2 key pieces. Judon is gone. Barmore's not there. And offensively, I think the Pats are going to struggle against this Bengals front. So I like Gesicki there, anytime touchdown at 3-1 or better.
All right, very good. Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Adam Chernoff, Right Angle Sports, and the Simple Handicap podcast. We'll continue to get his thoughts on the Bills-Cardinals, the Sunday night game, Rams-Lions, the Monday night game, and also he has a 30-1 weekly leader prop bet that he likes. Find out who it is next here on VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Love it. Fridays are so much fun. Adam Chernoff joins us for 2 full segments. Been talking to him every Friday during the football season now for 5 years plus. He is with Right Angle Sports. The podcast is called The Simple Handicap. I listen to it every single morning when it pops early Pacific time. And he is on the Progressive guest line. What is your breakdown here of the Giants and the Vikings? And you have a 30-1 bet here between these two teams that you like?
Yes, I do. And Mitch, I just want to clarify, like, we're Friday afternoon at 2:45 p.m. I know a lot of listeners come to this segment for sides and totals and stuff coming up. these lines have been up for months. Like there's not a lot, which is why we're going kind of prop heavy and kind of off the board a little bit here. So I just want to clarify that next week we'll kind of be back to the usual. But for this, I mean, Devin Singletary to lead all rushers on Sunday at 30-1, I think is a great bet to make, because we have Brian Daboll taking back play calling duties for the New York Giants. And there's a lot of pressure on him to get this offense right, to hold his job. And so he's taking that upon himself. Brian Daboll has a very good history against Brian Flores. When Daboll was OC in Buffalo and Flores was head coach in Miami, he matches up very well against this Flores defense and knows it well. And there's no time to prep for it. And Devin Singletary is the guy who is getting singled out in press conferences as the lead running back who's looking at 75+% touch share out of the backfield. So they're going to be leaning on him a ton. And I think there's an opportunity where against this Vikings defense, which D-line and linebacker groups are each graded 24th coming into the year, there's an opportunity that now a healthy Giants offensive line can lead to some big holes in run game. So it's out there and it's a little bit wild, but Singletary 30-1, I'll take a flyer on that one.
Would you consider like the ladder bets with Singletary? And I'm trying to find it right now for the alternate rushing yards.
Yeah, I mean, you can play this a lot of different ways. So you can just look at his prop total. You can go alternates. You can go anytime touchdown score. Like however much risk you want to take on with this is great. I'm looking at some of these markets for like weekly leaders and some of the alternate prop stuff that has just come up in the last 12 hours. I see a lot more opportunity in those at this point in the week and kind of week one in general than I do with some of the other stuff that's been up for longer, which is why some of these are a little bit out there, I guess, typically to what I do.
No, this is good. I love this, yeah.
So you're on record that Arizona's defense could be horrendous. So
it will be.
It will be, yeah.
Okay, Arizona and the Bills. What do you want to do here? And also, I like the comments coming from Buffalo that everyone's going to eat. Well, who can go off for the Bills from a wide receiver or maybe running back standpoint?
Yeah, so I'll go with Keon Coleman over 2.5 receptions at -120. And there's a little bit of an angle here. So obviously Buffalo and Kansas City have the draft pick history with Mahomes, but now they also have the draft pick history with Xavier Worthy in the trade that they had earlier in April. I'm looking at this now as like lightning kind of striking twice. How much of an emphasis now is there for Buffalo to kind of control the narrative a bit and get the guy they took instead of Worthy, who went off for 2 touchdowns, maybe an extra play or two in this game against a very bad defense, to just say like, hey, we made the right decision here and we're kind of trying to justify it. And so I'm looking at Keon Coleman against a very bad Cardinals defense. And I think over 2.5 receptions is a look that I like quite a bit. Just matchup wise here, we're seeing the total come down because Buffalo wants to go very ball control on offense, run the football, heavier personnel. They're going to get whatever they want against Arizona, but what they're going to want to get is kind of conducive to the under. And so that's why we're seeing the total come in just a little bit. And I think that I would tend to agree with that, but I'm not playing the total itself. But we're going to see Buffalo just get whatever they want on the ground against this bad Cardinals defense.
Yeah. You're president of the Mike McDonald fan club. What do you think of his first game, Seattle at home against Denver?
Yeah, president, and I'll wear that label all season long because I think he's going to get just an awesome effort out of his defense. You guys had Rich Gannon on earlier in the week, who I don't know how many coffees he had pre-segment, but I mean, he brought the energy.
Yes, he did. So good.
Yeah.
That was awesome. He pointed out the rookie quarterback struggles, especially making their debut in week 1 and how difficult that has been. So I'm looking at Bo Nix, who's the worst rookie quarterback or the most overdrafted or the most the biggest reach of all the guys taken in round 1. And now he's taking over a Broncos offense that wants to run the football as much as possible. And they're going into Seattle on the road in this environment to take on a Mike McDonald defense. Is not only going to be difficult to pass against, but the strength of this Seahawks defense is the middle of their interior defensive line. To me, this is just a massive mismatch, and it's going to be a struggle for the Broncos. The number is really reflecting that. Where I'm very intrigued is this Broncos defensive fall off outside of Pat Surtain as the number 1 corner. And the Seahawks have a bit of a wide receiver situation going on with Tyler Lockett, less than 100%. He should play. However, it's going to be Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's far and away wide receiver number 2. So if Metcalf is kind of matched up with Surtain, that's a tough matchup. JSN is going to be the guy who thrives and is the guy who was schemed up by the new Ryan Grubb offense. And so I'm looking at JSN over 43.5 receiving yards as a prop that I like more rather than playing an inflated Seahawks number. I think that role change and those injuries are interesting.
All right. Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest on the Progressive Guest Line is Adam Chernoff. You can follow him on X at Adam Chernoff, and his podcast is called The Simple Handicap. I'm in, I think, 8 or 9 fantasy leagues, and no joke, they all made Taysom Hill tight end eligible this year. And I know that made some news, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to attack this like I want him in as many leagues as possible. And I got him in a bunch of leagues this year. So I'm happy with that. Do you like him right away somehow in this game? And your thoughts overall on the Panthers and the Saints?
Don't put me on the spot for fantasy scoring. That's out of my league. I don't know, but I like him to score a touchdown.
It's good enough for me. Okay, I'll take it.
That's good. He was used a ton in training camp, in practices, by the new offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, especially close to the red zone. Like, I've got about 15 quotes about how much time he was seeing inside the red zone, how he was being moved around, how he's a focal point of this offense because Kubiak loves him. That, to me, is good enough to look at this game with a bad Panthers defensive line that has zero edge rush past Jadeveon Clowney and bet on someone for the Saints to do something on the ground despite the offensive line issues they have in front. And I think that the guy that's going to benefit is going to be Taysom Hill. So he's at 2-1, which is the third favorite for touchdown scores for the Saints. I don't agree with that based on how much he's being used so far in this Kubiak offense. And so to me, that's a pretty good price to make. But the Saints kind of in this game, I tell you, they catch a bit of a break because it was a left tackle, right tackle shift. And the biggest issue they've had is O-line. But this is going to be the worst pass rush they face all season long with the issues the Panthers are going through up front to start the season. So I hate to throw it out there. You guys called me crazy at the break. Derek Carr to lead all passers on Sunday in yardage at 28-1. He has the biggest difference when kept clean versus pressured in PFF grades of any quarterback in the NFL. I don't think he's going to be pressured much at all. It's an indoor game. I think it's going to be a really high-scoring football game. Call me crazy for that one. I mean, that's way out of board, and you guys don't love Carr, neither do I, but it's interesting to me.
So then, highest-scoring game then, too?
Wow. I saw that 22-1. It was the second longest odds of any game on the board.
You are correct.
It's up there.
Okay. How about Sunday night, the rematch of the great playoff game? Goff going against Stafford and McVay 6-1 straight up in ATS week 1.
I think that'll move to 6-2 this week. I think the Lions are in place to cover. We're out to 4. It's a bigger number, but the Lions up front, that O-line's going to dominate. And I don't think it's been realized just how much the loss of Aaron Donald is going to impact all 3 levels of this defense. And now the Rams are going to be without their best corner for this game. So Detroit is going to get anything they want passing. They're going to get anything they want running. That's going to be problematic for the Rams, who are going to need a hero game from Stafford. But I like the Lions secondary and the pieces they added. I think they get a good effort out of them. So I think the Lions win and cover.
All right. Very good. I tweeted this out yesterday, and I was asking for strongest takes and opinions or wagers on the entire season. Mine was Lions are the best team in the NFC. They're going to the Super Bowl. What is yours?
I think Panthers are a fringe wildcard team. I think they can steal the 7 spot with the increased offensive output they get, the turnaround from the coaching staff, the overhype, or the over exaggeration of how much Young struggled because now he has wide receivers around him. I think Evero figures out this defense as they get a little healthier and sort out a pass rush. But I think Carolina gets the 7 seed in the NFC. I don't know if that qualifies.
That's
crazy enough for outrageous.
Yes, that's one of them. That's very, very strong. Man, that was awesome. Such a fun 30 minutes. And we're going to love it every single Friday when you come on in this time, 5:30 Eastern to 6 o'clock on Fridays before the football season. Adam, thanks so much. And we hope that you kill it in week 1.
Thanks very much, guys. Let's get some points tonight, and then we'll be back to more sides and totals next Friday.
There you go.
Thank you.
Adam Chernoff, Right Angle Sports and the Simple Handicap Podcast. Flies by.
I love it.
Every Friday.
Carr, get nuts.
28-1.
Oh, man. How about highest scoring game?
That does seem a little out there, but, good angle with it.
Making a lot of sense on Singletary.
Up next, he's 7-0 ATS in his season opening game. Details next.